Hey guys, Allie Marie here with My Catholic Perspective. My last couple videos have been about my current health issue and talking about how much Christ has impacted my ability to process and accept everything that I have been going through, how to suffer well, so to speak. And so today I actually want to talk about how we as human beings, how we as the human race, as a human community, can kind of come together and find a way to put our sufferings into perspective. I was having a conversation with a friend last night. I'm not going to name names throughout this video at all. I'm going to be sharing a couple prayer requests that I've received. But last night I was talking with a friend who basically said that he and his wife very often bring up my situation to make themselves feel better about the suffering that they are going through. And he quickly responded after and said, well, that sounded really, really bad. I don't mean that like we do this to make us feel better, but just that we can't comprehend what you're going through and it makes us feel better. So this particular friend of mine, he and his wife are currently experiencing a pregnancy complication where the baby's blood supply is it could be compromised at a moment's notice. There's an issue with the umbilical cord. And for me, I'm like, I can't comprehend the suffering you're going through, I can't even like so many of these prayer requests that I've received have been pregnancy related. And I just like, for me, I'm like, gosh, I have a brain tumor. Like that's not anything compared to like the life or death of my child or my infant or my preborn child. So for me, like it helps me put my suffering in perspective because it's like, so the conversation that ensued after that with me and my friend was basically how I feel that we can become more comfortable with our own suffering if we're able to listen to somebody else's. I remember at one point when I had shared, I've been raped before. It was by someone I was seeing, and it was in a situation where he was under the influence. I was saying no. He thought I was consenting, and I wasn't. And I was talking with somebody else who had a similar type of sexual abuse, and I basically said, well, I'm just really glad, that I wasn't like gang raped in the back of an alley or something. Like I'm just like, I feel almost like grateful that it was what it was, because it could have been so much worse. And the person I was talking with actually got really mad at me that I would say such a thing, because she felt that I was diminishing her experience. She felt that I was saying like, oh well, what you went through wasn't that bad because somebody else could have gone through something worse. But really, like, that's what empathy is about. We can choose to take our sufferings and have a pity party. We can choose to take our sufferings and say, woe is me. But in reality, we aren't alone in our sufferings. And that's not just to the degree of, oh yeah, so-and-so is going to bring me a meal. So-and-so is going to sit here and watch a movie with me. They're going to, this person is serving me in this way. I'm not alone because I'm surrounded by friends. It's not so much that, but it's the fact that we're not alone in our sufferings because everyone else suffers too. So when we have this ability, right? So a number, like at least 3 of my current prayer requests that I'm praying for on a daily basis over on Instagram and Facebook, I've been asking everyone for any prayer requests that you have. I'm keeping a running tally. 3 of them have to do with people with stage 4 cancer. Parents of people the same age as me, like their dad has stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And they're just longing for their dad to have a conversion before his death. They're longing for their father to have peace. They're longing for their family to have peace. All these things, all these sudden diagnoses where it's like he has months to live. We're open to miraculous healing, but ultimately that he would know God. These pregnancy complications, anything about like processing actual stillbirths. There are 2 prayer requests that I have that have to do with a marriage in shambles because they're processing the death of their 36-week baby. These like I could cry. Again, I cried in my last video. I like rarely ever cry. But like these things that are just so heartbreaking, and they're just so they can put our own suffering into perspective. And that's what Christ does on the cross as well for us. That's what Christ does on the cross, because he came to earth and he When we were created to be in perfect unity with God, to be within his perfect love, to experience and be able to exhibit and share his perfect love with each other, with him, from him, for each other, from each other, everything. We were in perfect unity in that love. And then the fall came, and then we were suffering. And in the Old Testament, it's all about, justice. It's all, mercy hasn't been introduced yet. And then Christ comes to the world. And he sees our suffering. He sees our brokenness. He immerses himself in that. And then he says, this suffering that I'm about to partake in, this suffering of being tortured, of being crucified, of dying, this suffering I'm about to partake in is nothing in comparison to the suffering that I see my children going through. That's why the Father sent his Son to suffer, to redeem our suffering, because he saw us suffering. And his heart breaks. He wants us to know his love. He wants us to experience that. And so for us to be able to put our suffering in perspective, with Christ on the cross, with Christ crucified, but also with each other. And then to know that Christ on the cross, he was raised from the dead. He is risen. It has been redeemed. He is living and alive. That our suffering as well is going to be redeemed for the glory of God, no matter what we go through. Everything, we know that for those who love the Lord, all things work together for good for those who are called according to his purpose. It's in Romans 8:28. It all comes together for his good, and it all comes together for his glory. And that's what we can do with our suffering. And we can be that for someone else as well, because just as I might hear about a pregnancy complication and be like, I can't even fathom going through that. Like, my suffering is nothing compared to yours. That person is also more comfortable in their suffering, and they hear about mine. They're like, oh my gosh, no, I can't even fathom your situation. My suffering is nothing compared to yours. But also, you look at things like feast or famine, drought or flood, and these people that are on the opposite side of these spectrums. Somebody who is starving to death in India might look at America and say, wow, well, at least I'm not 300 pounds overweight. Or somebody who is 300 pounds overweight might say, oh, well, at least I'm not starving. We become more comfortable with our own suffering, and suddenly somebody else's situation looks worse than ours, even though we are in peril. Even though we might be in a situation that is detrimental to ourselves. When we start asking those questions and seeing where somebody else is, asking those clarifying questions as well, being like, oh, well, what is their name? How long has this been going on? Actually trying to get to know the situation instead of just, well, can I pray for you? And they say, yeah, can you pray for my aunt? I'm like, okay, anything in particular that I can pray for her for? Like, actually getting to know the person behind the prayer request. And so that's just what I encourage you to do as well. If you're requesting people, like asking people if you can pray for them, actually get to know their situation. Don't just say, can I pray for you? Okay, yep, I got you. Like, try to get to know what exactly is going on, because, like that same thing, feast or famine, drought or flood, we're all just kind of wading our way through whatever it is that we're going through. But what somebody else is going through, what you're going through might help somebody else feel a little less bad about their particular situation. And that's what empathy is. That's what we're made for. That's that love. That's that longing to cherish each other in nature. That's that's what we're made for. And to experience that not only with Christ, but with this community who is made from Christ and made for Christ, made for love and for God. That's like the biggest piece that we can offer each other, is to just be present and to pray for each other as well, because prayers are powerful. The prayers of the faithful are powerful. It's biblical as well. And so that's what I've been doing on my social media channels. You're welcome to join me over on Instagram. It's at Allie Marie here. It's ALI, M as in Mary, ARIE here. And yeah, I'd love to be praying alongside you. Like I just shared in my stories, I think yesterday, you know, my whole goal with asking for these prayer requests is that I want to be a prayer warrior for you. I want to cover you in prayer. I want to support you in prayer. I want to protect you in prayer. And I ultimately want to help you join that suffering to the cross, to see how Christ can redeem that in that suffering that he endured, that he did because he saw your suffering. He saw your suffering and he said that this child of mine is worth this suffering I am about to endure. Should I not have to endure it, Father, take this cup from me, but not my will, but yours be done, because my child, my children, they are suffering, and my suffering that I am about to endure is worth it. Help me put their suffering in perspective and help me put my suffering in perspective. And that's what he did for us. That's what he does for us. And that's what he's waiting for you to become a part of in the Eucharist. Every day at Mass, it's offered, but every Sunday, just finding that body and blood, transforming yourself into him, longing to put that suffering into perspective so that it's not a pity party. It's not woe is me. It's not nobody understands what I'm going through, because it's very easy to slip into that. That's the devil lying, saying, oh, you're the only one that knows this. Nobody could ever understand you. But really, people are sitting there waiting to say, wow, I'm going through this, but I can't imagine going through what you're going through. And it might seem minor to you, you know. It might be that you're like, oh, I had a falling out with my mom. I need a prayer for that. You might be like, it's minuscule compared to what you're going through. But then for me, I might be like, gosh, the relationship with my mom is one of the most important relationships that I have, and I can't imagine not having that. And so so that suffering, like, I can't, I'm sorry that you're going through that. I see it as a substantial issue, and I will stand with you, and I will pray and protect you in that, and ask our Blessed Mother to intercede on your behalf, or a strange sister, a strange sibling, any of those things are just so powerful and valid pieces of suffering that I just truly urge you to talk with your friends, talk with me, send me a private message if you don't want to leave a comment, but just let me know how I can be praying for you, because I know, like, so many of you have said you're praying for me, but really, like, I want to be able to pray for you, because gosh, what I'm going through is just, I don't know, it's a speck. And I know I'm not alone in any of the heartaches that I experience. I know so many are alongside me in that. And so I just want to encourage you today just to join that to the cross, join it with me, join it with your community, and find a saint to intercede on your behalf as well. Find a friend in heaven, and they'll walk right alongside you. They've been through it before, and they'll be through it again with you. And their guidance just can be immeasurable. Like, it can be just everything that you need that you never knew you needed. So I do pray that God grants you those resources that you need to draw closer to him, and in turn to those around you. And I pray that you are able to make it a great day. I'll see you again soon.